Hello to both of you, George and David. I've been listening for about 9 months now, and there's been so much on your program. It's been amazing to me. When I was very young, before I turned 5 years old, I used to see shadow people. They played cards in my kitchen. And whenever I got my parents to come and see them, they would always disappear. And I never looked at them as being demonic or anything. But I've seen UFOs. I even saw the mothership once and called NASA because I wanted to know somebody had to see this.
Did they talk with you?
NASA, I called the pilot that was on standby. And they said, no, we don't have any records of any of this. I'm like, This was on a bright Sunday morning about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I even saw a UFO right around the Mormon church on the freeway Sunday afternoon about 1 o'clock. And I saw this UFO that was a silver dome that had like green emerald-type jewels around it. Now, what's significant about this is in the 70s, I developed a perpetual motion machine. Was using magnets. I figured if I put them at lines tangent and started it and had this armature to spin and place these magnets in the right place, it would continue to spin.
That's brilliant. That's exactly what Ed Leeds Skalden did down at Coral Castle when he was trying to move that. He was coming. Oh, was it really?
My teacher talked me out of it, told me I couldn't get something out of nothing. I said, well, I'm getting something out of the magnet. Later, I don't remember, it might be the same person you're talking about. Some years later, I read about a guy at NASA in general popular mechanics that had developed this same type of generator. And I'm surprised that I haven't heard anything about them using this to produce electricity. But anyhow, I had different thoughts about new sources of energy because I think the combustion energy is just so obsolete that if I took two different types of crystals, put them in a geodesic type of dome like Buckminster Fuller invented, and had them spinning in a gyro type of way, that I would be able to, number one, defy gravity, and number two, be able to go into other dimensions. Now, this might sound strange. I noticed that if you can turn right angles quick enough, that I believe that you can see into other dimensions.
Or I got to tell you something. We've got a physicist that comes on the program. He's working on a time machine. His name's Ronald Mallet.
Okay.
He speaks exactly like you. He's been talking about right angles, and amazing. We're going to get him back on again. You've got to listen to that show.
I definitely will. And see, when David mentioned about that 9 o'clock aspect, that took me right back to that right angle once again. So my next thought was, why do I have to have two different domes spinning? What if I can place these stones in the right place and run current in opposite directions and make it the moving force as opposed to an actual physical cage?
Let's get David's reaction to all of this.
Well, I think it's rather brilliant. I think that, and I've already experienced this. If you can have magnets that are, and again, don't put them in equal sacred geometries, because they'll all cancel out to one. You'll get static energy. Like if two waves the exact same wavelength and force hit each other, they cancel each other out to a zero, and they don't open up the hidden harmonic codes. But if you take a natural six-sided quartz crystal, which you'll see in my book, you'll actually see how to do the mathematics of this and arrange your magnets in a natural counter-rotational six-sided geometry, and then see what happens. You'll see something, you want to tap into the natural harmonic codes of the universe, and they're really there. But in between the harmonic codes is just white noise, a static universe, which means everything is canceling each other out. So if you see this, properly, you will be able to tune into one of those codes, just like you tune into a particular radio station. But in addition to, your right angle turn theory, I have also in the same book, and I've shown this, the wave within the wave. If you look in a spiraling, spinning, subatomic particle wave, that spiral wave has another wave spinning 90 degrees away from forward propagation within it. And I've actually seen this in bubble chamber photographs. You'll see a muon, which has a lot of weight, a lot of mass, and it's spinning. And as it gets into a higher frequency orbit, it all of a sudden loses most of its mass, converts into electron, and turns 90 degrees away from forward instantaneously. And you can actually see this is all in the book. So I'm really, really fascinated by the caller.
Do you believe time travel will be possible in the future?
Well, I think there is time dilation, and definitely time travel is possible. Going forward in time seems more possible to me than going backwards in time, but also if you consider, Richard Feynman's Sum Over History, that every possible history for George Noory's wife exists in my life and everybody's life, but you made certain choices that made you, experience
right.
one of those possibilities, that all of the possibilities exist. The problem with going forward and backward in time is you're going to end up finding out every single possible decision you might have made or didn't make actually exists. So it gets really confusing.
Let's go to Bob in Los Angeles. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Hi, George.
Hi.
Hey, pretty good. This is sort of weird. It's like deja vu. Last time I called Sarita, I was talking to Sarita, and I told him, I said, whoever figures this out, what I'm going to bring up, will get the Nobel Prize.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
He just verbatim said everything I told him. I told him, I said, someone's going to figure out that the pyramids were put on this Earth and Mars, fixed to a chakra point on Earth that set a resonance characteristics on Earth, which creates a resonant harmonic, because all the planets without it have an eye where there's a storm on it, and they put these on Venus, Mars, and Earth so there could be life on it, because without it there'd be that eye there creating havoc and the storms and all sorts of havoc. But Sarita's getting real close. He's pulling in. And another ironic thing, bring up real quickly. A couple weeks before Linda Moulton Howell went on the air, I told her that, I said, Linda, investigate, look at the movie production crews. They're actually people in the intelligence community that are seeding the TV crews and movies in order to watch information. And 2 weeks later, she came back with a show. That's exactly what I told her. So it's really funny. It's
Perceptive. David, you're on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the feedback. I mean, it's over and over and over again. Yes, I believe the exact every location on a sphere a perfect sphere would have the exact same harmonic code. But because you're sitting on an egg, a slight egg-shaped Earth, and as soon as you see an ellipse, it means that it is actually a Vesica Pisces shape formed by two counter-rotational waves, which NASA has actually determined this. We see the counter-rotational waves that are spinning around the semi-spheroid of the Earth. But what's amazing is time and time again, when you understand that every location in the universe has its own harmonic code vibration, and that when two different harmonic codes of different locations in the universe come into harmony with each other, they're in instantaneous communication with each other, and we know that's how it works in the quantum universe. So yes, this is probably what the pyramids were used for. I've even also, George, taken, if you remember the last show we did on water, where we took the sound of the sun from NASA as recorded in space and beamed it at water, and Leonid Isvakov in Russia takes the Emoto-style photograph, flash freezing the waves in the water when the sound of the sun was exposed to it, and we get this phenomenal, the most astounding architecture. And I did the harmonic codes on that water crystal, and oh my God, the numbers were so beautiful. They're in the same ratio as 1 part oxygen, 2 parts hydrogen, and not only that, I believe if you generated that harmonic code, you would either make it rain or it's gonna produce water.
Back with final calls with David Sarita in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Well, on our next Coast to Coast program, it'll be those Friday the 13th open lines. Anything can happen. And welcome back to Coast, where David Sarita will take your phone calls as well. David, of everything you've worked on in this area, which is pretty darn remarkable, I'll tell you, what area fascinates you the most? My concern with 0 point energy, it's also 0 point dollars. How did they make money doing this?
Well, firstly, I think anti-gravity is one of my most areas that I'm the most fascinated by. And in fact, when I mentioned the Boyd-Bushman experiment from Lockheed Martin of the opposing field magnets, how they were dropped and they fall slower, I've just got an email that William Alec, who's local to me here in Sedona, read